In 2018, I believed that I was baptized. Up until then, I was blind to all that happened around me. I believed everything was fine, or just ignored the bad parts to live my false sense of life. Months after, my good friend committed suicide. I was slowly feeling disconnected from the church, and I also kept the situation hidden from them. Doing so, I dealt with my feelings of sorrow, regret, and anger alone. Weeks later, I found out that a father figure of mine had also committed suicide. And that very week, I was invited out to Denny's with the youth group. At the end of the night, the youth pastor gave us a talk and used John 15:5-6 in a way to get his point across, saying that if we, the leaves, are disconnected from the church, the vine, then we'll crumble and die. I thought that he was throwing shade. After having bad experiences with other people also, I said I couldn't do it, and I left the church. I was living in darkness. I don't mean witchcraft, astrology, or whatever. I mean, if my two loved ones left me, why not join them? Scared to reach out to my friends and family because it'll hurt me more. Knowing Jesus, but choosing to ignore him. After a year of that, I meet up with the youth pastor, we talk, and he asked me a question. Are you a Christian? I said yes. And he then goes on with a series of questions to see if I know the gospel. And I got him. Every answer I said was what I needed to look like a Christian. He left joyful that day, not knowing I said everything, knowing the words, but not believing they were true. I walk in my house, I go in my restroom, and I sit on the ground, and I just cry. Because after he left, there was one thought on my mind, the first part of Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death. Not only did I just lie to my brother, but I was knowingly living in sin. Following this, I yearned to believe all the things I said. I struggled with believing in myself rather than relying on Christ. I was so fixated on the things I knew rather than allowing the Lord to work in me. I was focused on myself for myself. But during the moment, I was reminded that Jesus died for me. He took the burden of sin from me, and I felt humbled because there was nothing I could do in this situation but rely on him. And I then believed that I was saved. During COVID, I returned to the church I was attending to before, which was holding Zoom sessions. I joined a few times, however, I could not do it. So I sought out the gospel elsewhere. Checked out about 3 different churches before the fateful basketball game, which led me to a group of men from Grace. Upon coming to Grace, I've sought out relationships to meet people who call this church home, but also learn more of Christ. Whether it be reading his word with brothers and sisters or our timeless conversations of the Lord, which somehow seem to never end. Through coming to this church, I've looked at my sinfulness compared to God's holiness, and I see that I've been a terrible friend, brother, and son. I've allowed things that I have no control over dictate my life, but truly he's delivered me.